Canton 4, chapter 28, verse 58, and the verse goes like this. Vipanastu kriya shaktir buddha prakritir avyaya shakti adisha pumams tvatra pravishto navabudyate.
So they
is it written here? Ah, it's not written here. Okay. Well, then let's skip Sanskrit. Let's go to the.
Read 3 times.
I will just learn. I will read first translation, and then we can. Oh, let's read first word by word, and then you can just please repeat by me. Vipanaha, stores. 2, then. Kriya Shakti, the energy for activities or working senses. Bhuta, the 5 gross elements. Prakritihi, the material energy, the material elements. Elements. Avyaya, eternal. Shakti, the energy. Adishaha, controller. Puman, man. Tu, then. Atra, here. Pravishtaha, entered. Na, does not. Avabudyate, become subjected to knowledge. And then we have translation. The 5 stores are the 5 working sensory organs. They transact their business through the combined forces of 5 elements, which are eternal. Behind all this activity is the soul. The soul is a person, an enjoyer in reality. However, because he is now hidden within the city of the body, he is devoid of knowledge. This is purport. This is translation given by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Let's read the purport. The living entity enters the material creation with the aid of 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air, and the ether. And thus his body is formed. Although the living entity is working from within, he is nonetheless unknown. The living entity enters the material creation, but because he is bewildered by the material energy, he appears to be hidden. The bodily conception of life is prominent because of ignorance, navabudyate. Intelligence is described in the feminine gender, but owing to her prominence in all activities, she is described in this verse as Adishaha, the controller. The living entity lives by means of fire, water, and food grains. It is through the combination of these 3 that the body is maintained. Consequently, the body is called Prakriti, material creation. All the elements gradually combine to form flesh, bone, blood, and so on. All these appear as various apartments. It is said in the Vedas that digested foods are ultimately divided into 3. The solid portion becomes stool, the semi-liquid portion turns into flesh, and the liquid portion turns yellow and is again divided into 3. One of these liquid portions is called urine. Similarly, the fiery portion is divided into 3, and one is called bone. Out of these 5 elements, fire, water, and food grains are very important. These 3 are mentioned in the previous verse, whereas sky, ether, and air are not mentioned. This is all explained in Bhagavad Gita 13:20, which I will not read Sanskrit, I will just read translation. Material nature and living entities should be understood to be beginningless. Their transformations and the modes of matter are products of material nature. Prakriti, material nature, and Purusha, the living entity, are eternal. When they both come in contact, there are different reactions. There are different reactions and manifestations. All of them should be considered the results of interaction of 3 modes of material nature. So, let's do the invocation first. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Gyanamirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manovistam Taptam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Namam Vishnu Pada Krishna Prishta Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kancha Garavangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Alright, so let me again just read through translation. The 5 stores are the 5 working sensory organs, and they transact their business to the combined forces of the 5 elements, which are eternal. Behind all this activity is the soul, and soul is a person and enjoyer in reality. However, because he is now hidden within the city of the body, he is devoid of knowledge. Alright, so in my preparation for today's katha, I was trying to, personally because of myself, to summarize the whole chapter and to give maybe some summary of the whole thing that we are reading, because then it's easier for me to follow and maybe dive deeper into the subject matter. So from the chapter 25 to 28, we learned that Prachetas, 10 sons of the king Prachinabharat, they recited their mantras that they learned from Lord Shiva, and they recited this for a very long time, I think 10,000 years, sitting in the water. But during that time, their father was involved in materialistic activities, and primarily he was in charge of executing so many different yagyas, sacrifices, that were not really intended to please the Lord, but mostly just out of desire to fulfill some material desires. And he was doing just innumerable yagyas, one after another. And at one point, Narada Muni was feeling very compassionate towards this king, because even though king was behaving like that, he had a soft heart, and he was really simple-minded. He was open to inquire from Narada Muni to learn about spiritual life. So Narada Muni was really, he was determined to enlighten this person. So he approached him, and then he spoke this allegory story about another king called Puranjani, and he tried to inspire Prachinabharat with this allegory. But actually, the story about King Puranjani was a story about him. He was just, giving him allegory just to, paint the picture for him to, so he can easily understand what he's talking about. So, and this story we heard through last 2 chapters, and I will just summarize it so that we can see where this shloka for today fills in. So we learned that King Puranjani, he entered the city. He entered the city of 9 gates. But before that, he was looking all over the world for this place where he can enjoy his material desires. He can fulfill his material desires. So he went all over the world, and finally he stumbled across this beautiful city of 9 gates. And then he realized, oh, this city is amazing. I have everything I ever wanted in, and I will actually go and try to reside there. But he didn't enter that city alone. He entered that city with his dear friend Avignata. Maybe I'm pronouncing the names wrong. Lokapalani, please correct me if I'm doing that. Avignata means the unknown one. So he was friend of King Puranjani, and both of them, they entered into the city. And when they entered the city, this king, he also met this king Puranjana. He met Puranjani inside of the city, a beautiful lady that had 10 servants always behind her, facilitating her. And he was mesmerized by this lady, so immediately he started, to create a strategy how he can marry this girl. And not before long, they started to live together in the city, and they were enjoying material senses to the fullest. So after marriage, they enjoyed these material pleasures for 100 years, and during this time, King Puranjana, he fell completely under the control of his wife Puranjani. And we also learned that at one point, during these 100 years, he even left his wife. He went to the forest to go hunting, and he was killing so many different innocent animals. And then he returned back, only to realize that he made his wife really depressed. So he realized what he did, and then he asked for forgiveness from her. And as soon as he pacified her, he just continued to live how he lived before with her. So he indulged in sex life with her, and this resulted in 1,100 sons that were conceived, and also 110 daughters. So you can imagine this city became very quickly overcrowded. It's really, from a very peaceful place, it became a place of so many people living inside. And because they were all his sons and daughters, they started to really give anxiety to the king Puranjana. They were, constantly trying to basically plunder him, to enjoy their senses. And so again, this all happened because King Puranjana had so many different material attachments. So this was the result. So some years later, another king, Chandavega, and his soldiers, they attacked the city of 9 Gates. And the only person who was actively defending this city was actually 5-hooded snake, like a main protector of the city. So whoever tried to attack, this 5-hooded snake was inside of the city, and it would immediately engage attacker. So this happened here, and this Chandavega king, he was constantly trying to win over this city. So he was fighting and fighting, and because King Puranjani was so much involved in material senses, or material sense gratification, he didn't pay much attention to these attacks. He knew, I have this, snake. This snake is taking care of the city. I don't care. I will just continue with my activities. I'm sure snake will again protect the city. But in course of time, this snake became more weak and weak, because she also didn't get the support she needed. And eventually, daughter of this attacker, aggressor, King Chandravega, daughter was called Calcanya. She sneaked into the city and captivated King Puranjana, and while she was doing that, associates of this daughter, again, Calcanya, thank you. They were creating havoc in the city. They set this whole city on fire. They set it ablaze. So the whole city was burning. Everything was deteriorating very quickly. And again, not before long, king was forced to exit the city with this snake, 5-hooded snake. And the moment he exited the city, he was confronted with all the animals he killed during his hunt in the forest, and now these animals, it was payback time. They were trying to hurt him back, right? And while he was exiting the city, King was tormented by the thought of that he left his wife, his dear wife, and all his children inside of the city. So he was completely absorbed in the thought of what will happen to them. And so this is what happens. And like I said at the beginning, this is allegory. So I would just like to revisit what are the points in this story, what they represent. So can you tell me, what does King Puranjana represent? Spirit soul, right? So that's us. Then City of the Nine Gates.
Material body.
Yes, so that's our body, right? Our gross body. Who is the friend that accompanied King Puranjana into the city? Super soul. Then who is Puranjani? Intelligence, exactly. So that's material intelligence, right? Who are the 10 servants of Puranjani? Exactly, 10 senses. How do we categorize these 10 senses, or how do we categorize these 10 servants?
5 knowledge acquiring senses and 5 working senses.
Okay. Can you name them? Okay, I'll just go quickly through them. So 5 knowledge acquiring senses: seeing, hearing, tasting, smelling, and touching. 5 working senses: legs, belly, genital, rectum, arms. Right? So they're always accompanying material intelligence. What does abandonment of Puranjani and going to the forest mean?
Sense enjoyment. Sense enjoyment.
Yes, exactly. So this hunt for the animals was actually hunt for the sex enjoyment. So, and then at one point King woke up from this hunt, and then he realized what he did and how that influenced his intelligence, his wife, and then he repented, and then he tried to again live piously in a married life. That's the analogy. Okay, what do 1,100 sons, 110 daughters represent?
Desires.
Yes, so that would be desires, but also like fructification of these desires. These are karmic reactions to the desires that we have, right? So all the entanglement that now you need to deal with because of your desires and your actions. This king who was aggressor, who attacked the city, Chandavega, what does he represent?
Old age and disease.
What?
Old age and disease.
All that is?
Old age and disease.
Old age and disease.
Yes.
Not really. Yeah, my hearing is not perfect. He represents Kala, time. So he's inevitable time. He's, grinding effect of time. He is attacking constantly. He is relentless. He will not stop. He will eventually win that city over. Daughter of Chandravega, or daughter of Kala, or time, Kalkanya, she is actually what you said: disease, fear, ill fate that inevitably follows when we reach the old age, right? So, as in this allegory, she just sneaked into the city, unnoticed. So this is what old age is doing to us. Almost unnoticeably comes into our life, and then brings with her associates disease, ill fate, all that old age brings, right? And we need to deal with that. Okay, and then what does fire represent in the city? So this is the effect of disease and everything that happened. And then city or your body becomes uninhabitable, right? So if you, at one point you cannot fight your diseases, they're too serious. And basically it's uninhabitable, your body, you need to leave, right? And we have also 5-hooded snake that defended the city. Well, what does that snake represent?
Life force.
What?
Life force.
Life force, exactly. Life force. Prana, your life air, right? So life air and king, soul, they needed to leave out of the city. They were forced to leave out of the city. And then they confronted, king confronted all the animals. This is karmic reactions of animals that he killed, or in this case, all the lusty desires that he fulfilled in his life. He was confronted with this, and he was feeling really sorry about this, but he was feeling the pain of what he inflicted to others. And then in this misery, he is also thinking of his wife and children, but primarily of his wife. What's the end result of that? We all know he got female body in the next life, right? And this is what we read in this chapter. So sorry for this long summary, but it really helps me to, somehow understand it better. So in this chapter, we learned that King Puranjana got the body of Vidarbhi, daughter of King Vidarbha. And ultimately, this daughter of King Vidarbhi, she married saintly King Malyadvaya. And then this saintly king was very, very pious. So he performed many pious deeds, and now Vidarbhi was a very chaste wife that always followed him, and she was a perfect example of a chaste wife, constantly trying to serve her husband. So at one point when her husband decided that, okay, I'm now done with my household life, I will resign into forest, and I will now try to focus entirely, solely on my spiritual life, she also followed him there, right? But again, very soon, this pious king left his body, and then Vidarbhi was left alone there, and she was in complete anxiety, because now she's all alone in the forest, what to do, and she was lamenting very loudly. And at the same time she was thinking, okay, what can I do? I will prepare a sacrifice fire to burn the body of my husband, but I will also enter this fire. This act is called sati, to sacrifice yourself as well in the fire, yagya. And then as she was performing all this, old Brahmana came to her and told her, why are you doing this? I'm your old friend, why are you lamenting? You just forgot about me, but you are not even this daughter of King Vidarbha. You are not even King Puranjana from the previous life. You are eternal soul. And you completely forgot about me, your friend who entered into the city of 9 gates in previous life, but I remember everything. So I'm here to remind you again that old Brahmana or Avignata from the life before, friend that entered into the city, is of course Krishna, who is as a super soul living with us in our body, and he's observing all this, right? So it's very wonderful allegory that was supposed to inspire Prajna Bharat to consider maybe spiritual activities or spiritual angle of life. So today's verse inspired me to think more like, okay, what does it mean from my perspective? I'm living as a householder, Grihastha ashram, and I can really, relate to what we heard today. And then, as I was thinking about it, my dear chaste wife sent me a link of our Guru Maharaj, and it was just perfect. That was exactly, when Krishna sends you exactly what you need to hear. And our Guru Maharaj, Niranjana Swami, was talking about one wonderful story. And I really easily relate to stories, so I wanted to share this with you. This story was about men fleeing into forest, being chased by a tiger. Probably you heard about this story. And as he was being chased into the forest, he was in panic. He needs to find shelter quickly. No time to think. So just running, and all of a sudden he sees some old well next to a tree, and he decides, okay, let me just use the branches of this tree, and I will just climb in this well. No sweat. I will be there until the tiger goes away. I have water in the well. I will manage somehow. So he does that, but the moment he enters into this well through the 2 branches that he took, he realizes, oh no, this was a bad idea. I see that this well is completely dried out, and to make it even worse, there are venomous snakes on the bottom. And so I'm trapped. I cannot go down. I will be killed immediately in agony. But if I go up, same thing is awaiting for me. Tiger, who is not, giving up, he is waiting there. So he's literally hanging for his dear life on the branches. And to make things even worse, 2 rats come on the branches, both of these branches, one white rat and one black, and they are eating the branches, so nibbling on the branches. So it's just a matter of time, it's inevitable that he's gonna suffer. And then, while he is in dread of realizing all that, and watching at these rats, he realizes, oh, above them there is a big honeycomb, like a big beehive. And it's so big and it's so full of honey, and this honey is dripping on these branches, and it's actually coming towards him. And he can see that, some drops will fall towards him, and he just puts his tongue out just to grab these drops, and he manages to catch a couple of drops, and he thinks, oh, this is nice. So at the moment he forgets completely where he is, and he's tasting very nice honey. So I think you can understand this analogy, right? It's very easy to understand. First thing, tiger represents death, inevitable death that is chasing us all the way. Then you have 2 branches that are, one is our pious activities, one is our impious activities, and we are constantly entangled with them, we are hanging on them. And then you have white and black rat. Do you know what that represents?
Day and night.
Day and night, exactly. So day and night is nibbling our branches right away, and sooner or later you will fall in pit of snakes. And snakes, what do they represent? So they represent all these problems that we are dealing. Primarily, I can relate from this householder perspective, but I'm sure that in other ashrams you face the same thing. So all the problems, it's never one snake, it's so many different snakes. You will defend yourself from one, another one comes and bites you. These are all interconnected problems that you are dealing in material life. And again, they will get you. You cannot escape. So there is no solution to get out of this problem, right? So, as I was listening to this story from Niranjana Swami, he said that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur gave us a solution or instruction how we should live at home. So there is nothing wrong in living at home as a devotee. Home is just fine, but we need to know how to live in household life. And I think this is very relevant to the today's verse that we have. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, proper association with exalted personalities destroys our qualification for falling into dark well of material life. Isn't that nice? So again, proper association with exalted personalities destroys our qualification for falling into dark well of material life. If we associate with liberated souls, we'll be qualified for becoming spiritual householders. Those who do not associate with Bhagavatas to discuss the Bhagavata, knowing the two to be non-different, will never find fortune in household life. Fortune means real wealth, not material wealth. So real wealth is attachment to the lotus feet of the Lord, and what we have right here, which is association of devotees. So if we are attached to that, that's our security policy. That is our real wealth. So he continues, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati continues, it is good for devotees to live at home. Nothing wrong with living at home. It's good to live at home because it allows them to peacefully worship the Lord Hari. Such peace is not available, however, to those who are too attached to householder life, who are gross materialists. It is important to enter family life resolved to serve Krishna. So if we enter householder life resolved that, fine, we are in householder life, but we will dovetail this householder life to always serve Krishna, that's a different story. But if we enter household life resolved that, oh, now I can finally enjoy my sense, my senses, material senses, then that's a totally opposite of what we are discussing here. So this resolution to serve Krishna is far superior to practicing false monkey renunciation. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur calls this monkey renunciation. Why? Because monkeys, they look like they live renounced life. They are naked in the forest, but at the end of the day, they are just enjoying sex life. So it's false renunciation. It looks like they're renounced, but they're really not. And then in the purport of Madhya Lila, Srila Prabhupada explains how Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati gave this monkey analogy just to illustrate the show of renunciation by what we also have among devotees. We can dress very nicely in devotee clothes and pretend that we are renounced, but it's our desires that count, right? What's inside is what counts. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he continues that false renunciation will not help one to attain ultimate goal of life. One should enter family life only if it's favorable to execution of devotional service to Hari. If family life is unfavorable, it is dark well and should be rejected. If one becomes detached from family life just to display his expertise and false renunciation, he will not benefit either. So immature renunciates soon will fall down. So one should perform activities in relationship to his family out of sense of duty. That's what will eventually help us. Even if the attachment is not there, still duty must be performed. If one tries to become detached just for some external display of renunciation, he will not benefit. Association with Lord's devotee destroys materialism. Those who enter family life only to satisfy worldly morality will only become absorbed in materialism. So there are many other instructions from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, but let's end with the most important one, which will help us to get a perspective on how we can eventually gradually be awakened of this material dream that we are dreaming. And this is something that also Narada said to Yudhishthira Maharaj. So if we continue to hear these pastimes of the Lord in the association of devotees, gradually we will become detached from attachment to family life. Just as a person gradually awakens from a dream. If you have some experiences with awakening from a dream, then you know that sometimes it takes some time for you to get back to your senses, right? You know, you wake up and you're like, where am I? Who am I? You know, what is this room? I'm totally bewildered. And, you know, it takes Lokapavani knows, she knows how long it takes me to, you know, really wake up. So I have personal experience with that. But what I'm trying to say is this material life that we also dream is like that. And funny thing is, what we hear here is, you know, we sometimes wake up from this dream only to enter another hallucination of whatever we, you know, concocted. So we should be completely awake, and completely awake means it means to be Krishna conscious, of course. So let's end here with Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur saying that we should see that this material world and everything in it are just ingredients for the Lord's service. Everything that we see around, just ingredients that we can use for Lord's service. Everything in this world is meant for Krishna service. The day when we can look at the world like this and become liberated from material conception, we will be able to see this material world as a spiritual world, Goloka. We should treat all women as Krishna's beloved. They are to be enjoyed by him. So don't look at them with enjoying spirit. They are meant to be enjoyed by Krishna, never by living entities. Treat your father and mother as Krishna's father and mother. Instead of considering your children as your servants, treat them as friends of child Krishna. Then you will not see the material world anywhere. Instead, you will see Goloka everywhere. Isn't this beautiful? So this is our meditation, or this is our gateway, how to get spiritual vision. And then, before I continue, I have a small extra part that I heard from Hari Prasad Prabhu discussion or Katha. I want to stop here and ask you if you have any questions or comments on what we heard so far. Okay, silence says it all. Right, so listen to this. This was really, really inspiring for me to hear. So do we have any kind of practical solution to what we heard? I'm talking about, again, me being curious, living in a household life. How can I, what can I practically do, you know, every day when I'm going to work? You know, what should be my mood? How should I, you know, on what should I meditate? I'm so much absorbed into this material world. I can, you know, pretend that I'm whatever, but at the end of the day, it's grinding me every day, you know, when I'm at work, associating with people who are not necessarily actively seeking spiritual topics, let's put it like that. So Hari Prasad Prabhu says that most of the times devotees, specifically when they're dealing with, you know, lust in everyday life, you know, material desires, they feel ashamed, and they also start to think, you know, maybe it's my sadhana, I should be more austere, I should perform more tapasya, it's certainly that. So if I become more austere, this will help me, right? And, you know, maybe I should chant more rounds. I mean, this is a good idea, but it's not all about austerity, and listen why. So, Srila Rupa Goswami has said in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu that only a little bit of austerity and knowledge is required for bhakti. Too much austerity is going to dry the heart out. And the dry heart cannot relish bhakti rasa. In the process of becoming too austere, one will eventually become a void of bhakti rasa. A person can attain perfection in bhakti only if he is neither too attached or too detached. That sounds very interesting. Then Jiva Goswami has given us a variation of bhakti which is known as arop siddha bhakti. Bhakti perfected by arop. Arop means allegation. Allegation would be, you'll learn about, a certain person, you don't know anything about this person, but you throw allegation on this person, oh, this person is a thief. So this person becomes a thief because of your allegation, right? So this allegation, you understand the word allegation, so this is like inducing something, So, again, this is called arop siddha bhakti, bhakti perfected by allegation, arop. Jiva Goswami says that there are various activities in our day-to-day life which have nothing to do with bhakti. For example, brushing our teeth, nothing to do with bhakti, right? But activities, you can say, yeah, I'm brushing my teeth for the pleasure of the Lord, right? But listen to this. Are you really thinking about that when you're brushing your teeth, right? But activities that have nothing to do with bhakti can be converted into bhakti by throwing a rope of bhakti on them, throwing allegation on them, which would mean, exactly what I said. It's like, okay, I'm performing this activity. Krishna, please also don't take just the fruits of my activities, also take my activities. I'm giving everything to you, Even though this is just a simple activity of brushing my teeth, but I give this activity to you. You're thinking of Krishna, and this becomes arop, this becomes allegation. So it's connected to Krishna because you're thinking of Krishna, right? And so you're essentially saying in your mind, oh Krishna, I dedicate this activity to you. This is the allegation of bhakti. And then the question arises, does this only apply to my pious activities? Or can I apply this to my not so pious activities? And then Jiva Goswami says, through my body, through my mind, whatever I do, I dedicate it to Lord Narayan. And he quotes Srila Swami, his commentary where he says, not only pious acts given in Vedas, but all other acts according to one's inborn nature have to be offered to Krishna. So we need to offer to Krishna everything. Pious, impious, everything we offer to Krishna. And then Jiva Goswami brings up a question, how does a devotee deal with impious activities? And then Hari Prasad explains further, elaborates that, bhakti should be our security policy. So when we are most fallen, when we feel most weak, bhakti doesn't leave us. Bhakti is still there with us. It actually should protect us even in that state, right? So bhakti should be seamless. And Jiva Goswami says that this principle should of course not be misused. So if devotee's aim is to further his relationship with Krishna, then you can use this principle. But if you are using this only to, now I have a nice, workaround how I can enjoy my senses, I will just throw a rope of, bhakti on everything I do and do whatever I want. No, that's of course not. Then you're just cheating yourself, right? So it's all about what is your aim, and it should always be to further your relationship with Krishna. And then he gives us two verses, and of course this should be performed with regret. If you don't feel any regret in doing this, then what's the point, right? Then it's kind of missing the point. So, and he gives us two verses. First, he gives us a verse that says, as I am performing this sinful activity, so we should chant this when we want to give this activity to Krishna. As I'm performing these simple activities, please let your remembrance never escape my heart. That's the first one. And second one is, as the mind of a young boy is attracted to a young girl, and the mind of a young girl is attracted to a young boy, similarly, let my mind be attached to you. So this should be our meditation when we realize, oh, I'm performing a simple activity, but I want to somehow, I'm regretting this, I want to change this. This is one part. But just to say that we should dedicate not only fruit of our everyday activity to Krishna, but also act of that activity. But again, if you are performing thousands of activities during the day, can you really do this? I mean, if we would constantly meditate on the same mantra, do you have, that kind of consciousness? Can you really be, can you do that on a daily basis for every activity you do? I personally sure cannot. And then Hari Prasad Prabhu says, no problem. That's why we have acharyas who gave us mantras that we can say maybe at the end of our day, where we meditate on all of our activities, or maybe throughout the day, maybe you can say twice or thrice this mantra. And then he says, I will not, again, molest you with my knowledge of Sanskrit, I will just say the translation. Meditation should be something like this. What I did in the past, what I did in the future, what I did right now, O Lord Janardana, or Krishna, I give everything to you. You enjoy the fruits. So whatever I did in the whole day, maybe you returned back from work home, you had a very busy day, so whatever I did, I don't even remember what I did. But whatever I did, pious, impious, I give everything to you. All the acts, all the fruits of that, I dedicate to you. Just that meditation is already wonderful. And so it's important that we have this remembrance of Krishna, this thing being invoked every time. And that's the purifying factor, that act of thinking of Krishna. But also, so this is one part, again it's called Arop Siddha Bhakti, and then we have Swarup Siddha Bhakti. That part means, okay, Arop Siddha Bhakti means we are doing things that we like, but Krishna maybe doesn't, and then we are throwing allegation of bhakti on top of it. And Swarup Siddha Bhakti means, okay, but let's now try to do something that Krishna likes, right? Let's try to meditate on that part. And so Hari Prasad Prabhu, he says that Arop Siddha Bhakti, we do exactly that. We meditate on what Krishna likes. And what Krishna likes, Shravanam, Kirtanam, so many other things that we already perform specifically here in the temple, right? So, Swarup Siddha Bhakti is bhakti perfected by herself, which means we're supposed to just cultivate positive attachment to Krishna. We need to have direct Krishna Katha, and this will help us establish, listen to this will help us establish I and mine in relationship to Krishna. Because I think we all established I and mine in relationship to this material world. We are, in our false self, false ego. But what about our true ego, our relationship with Krishna? So we need to define that. We need to establish that. And the more we dig into Krishna Katha, we are developing that. So we have 9 chapters of Srimad Bhagavatam that are preparing us to the 10th chapter, where we learn about most intimate pastimes of Lord Krishna. So these 9 should be preparation, our meditation, our cultivating the desire, understanding everything properly from authorized sources, so that we can finally, when we reach 10th canto, actually try to define me and mine, or I and mine, in our true ego, in our true relationship with Krishna. Why? Because, and this will be a conclusion of this katha, is that in verse, by the end of Rasa Lila in Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, there is a verse that goes, anyone who hears these pastimes of the Lord Krishna with dancing gopis of Vrindavan faithfully and from the authorized source, he becomes free from the lust within his heart. And that's our biggest enemy, right? So, thank you very much. Do you have any comments or questions with emphasis on comments? Yeah, please.
A question: you summarized the whole story, and the question appeared to me when he was Puranjana, he had a wife, and when he was Vadavi, he had a husband.
Yes.
So what does the first wife and the second husband represent? Do you know?
What does?
First wife,
Mm-hmm.
that would be the intelligence. We said that before?
Intelligence.
That's
Okay.
the
Yeah.
wife. And what's the husband afterwards?
Okay, husband, yeah, that's an excellent question, exactly. So first wife in the first story,
Intelligence.
first life, material intelligence, and material intelligence is very attracted to soul, and soul is attracted, it's a natural thing, they are attracted to each other. That's why it feels for us natural to be naturally, born in this world, we are part of this world, because our material intelligence is attracted to the soul, and soul is attracted to material intelligence. So that's the relationship there. But in the second one, king represents spiritual master, and that's very good point that you brought this. The spiritual master is a person who will actually, if you try to serve him as Vidarvi did in the second life, so you are trying to just follow the footsteps. She was following him in the forest. This is analogy for following your footsteps of your spiritual master. And fire, that she was trying to enter the fire, performs act of sati, right, to give her life and join husband, right, in his leaving the body. This fire represents fire of our devotional service, following the instruction of our spiritual master. That's the fire that will ultimately purify us. I hope that answers the question.
Now I have a second question.
Yes.
Because then afterwards the old Brahmana came and said that she should not to follow into the sati. So how can we understand this? We should not follow our guru?
I mean, I don't understand it like that. Maybe I'm wrong here. So it's don't just follow rituals. Just try to understand with your intelligence that you are not Vidarvi, you are not Puranjana, right? You are a spirit soul. So if you are a spirit soul, because she was lamenting, right? She was emotionally devastated. She lost her husband, right? So she was performing this act out of love towards her husband. But this Brahmana said, hey, I'm your old friend. I remember you even from your past life. You're not this body, you were never body before, you were never body at all. You're a spirit soul. Why do you lament? Wake up. That was a wake-up call, right? And because Vidarvi was pious, she became qualified, and she was following her husband, spiritual master. She became qualified to understand, to get this knowledge. Because at the beginning, this is very nice that we can now go back to the verse for today. Translation of the verse is, just give me a second. End of the translation says, however, because he is now hidden, meaning we are hidden in the body, right? We are hidden in the city of the body, we are devoid of knowledge, right? So this act of Brahmana coming to Vidarvi, or Krishna coming to this conditioned soul and saying, hey, you're not this body, is act of giving that conditioned soul knowledge. This is super soul finally being listened by this conditioned soul. This is how I understand it. So maybe others would like to comment, or I hope this makes sense.
That's good, yeah.
Okay, then thank you very much, and yeah, Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
War mir zu kalt. Hat der was für gepasst? War zu kalt? Oder sind die Nähe? Was du gesagt hast?
this. Yeah. And it comes with people. Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Hare Krishna, 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 Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Hare Krishna, 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 Krishna. Hare Rama, Krishna, 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 Krishna. Hare Krishna, 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 Krishna. Hare Krishna, 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 Krishna. Hare Rama, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Hare Krishna, 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 Krishna. Hare Krishna, 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 Krishna. Hare Rama, Krishna, Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Hare Krishna, 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 Krishna. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, 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 Krishna. Hare Rama, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Hare Rama, Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Hare Rama, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Hare Krishna, 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 Krishna. Hare Krishna, 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 Krishna. Hare Krishna, 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 Krishna. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Hare Krishna, 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 Krishna. Hare Krishna, 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 Krishna. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, 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 Krishna. Hare Krishna, 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 Krishna. Hare Krishna, 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 Krishna. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, 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 Krishna. Hare Krishna, 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 Krishna. Hare Krishna, 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 Krishna. Hare Rama, Krishna, 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 Krishna. Krishna, 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 Krishna. Hare Rama, Krishna, Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna. Go on. Hare Rama, Krishna, Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Krishna, Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Hare Rama, Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Hare Krishna, 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 Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Hare Krishna, 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 Krishna. Hare Krishna, 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 Krishna. Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Hare Rama. Krishna, Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna.
आपको शाम की फिर जाइएगा कुकिंग करने
Hare
शाम के समय
Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Rama. Krishna, Krishna. Krishna, Krishna. Krishna, Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Rama. Krishna, Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Krishna, 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 Krishna. Hare Krishna, 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 Krishna. Hare Rama, Krishna, 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 Krishna. Hare Krishna, 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 Krishna. Hare Rama. Krishna, Krishna. Krishna, Krishna. Hare Krishna, 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 Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Krishna, Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, 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 Krishna. Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Hare Krishna, 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 Krishna. Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, 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 Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna, Krishna.